क्रेडिट ले लिया, 6 के बाद उनका फैसला होता है सर वो आपने हमारा टारगेट पूरा हो गया है, रीसप्लाई वाला में कहते हैं 100 रुपये का आपके 2 रुपये बनते हैं, तो वो 2 रुपये इंटू 10%, 20 पैसे को उसको 210 20 रुपये क्रेडिट नोट देता है। अब सप्लायर कहेगा मेरी आफ्टर टैक्स लायबिलिटी कम हो गई, इफ ही डज इट without verifying whether buyer has reversed 20 rupees or not, this is his problem. Lawmakers have shifted onus upon you, on supplier, not on the recipient. वो तो 10 रुपए लेके बैठे, अब आपको 2 रुपए कम करना है। वो कहता तभी करोगे जब recipient input tax credit reverse करेगा. If it doesn't, and if you to reduce liability, you are in litigation, and you will never win it. The law is very very clear on this issue.
So what can be a legitimate proof of this kind of a reversal?
वो उसके आ जाएगा ना, उसमें 2A2B में रिवर्स रिस्पेक्ट हो जाएगा ना, उसमें होता है, आई एम नॉट अवेयर बट आता है ना, उसमें रिवर्स होता है ना, अभिषेक होता है।
What's the study company after discount incentive for discount?
After we finish section, we will discuss this various kind of discounts, whether incentive is a discount. Discount what has been defined by Supreme Court. Incentive is to motivate you. Discount is for the transaction. Thailand ले गए, मनीला ले गए, लंदन ले गए, वो को डिस्काउंट करना आएगा वो तो आपकी जो पेनल अकाउंट में ट्रीटमेंट की उसकी अलग है। हमारी इनकम नहीं है तो इनकम टैक्स क्या करना, हमारी तो इनकम ही नहीं है, अब तो डैड आदमी है। 15(4) where the value of supply of goods or services to the both cannot be determined under subsection 1, the same shall be determined in such manner as may prescribed. इसके 3-4 मेथड है, we discuss rule 27 में। ओपन मार्केट वैल्यू, ये बेलगाम का घोड़ा है, ये फ्रेज फेयर मार्केट वैल्यू और ओपन मार्केट वैल्यू, वो जो बोल रहा था ना अमेज़न के लिए आएगा, दैट इज वन ऑफ द क्राइटेरिया फॉर फेयर मार्केट वैल्यू, बट दैट इज अ वेरी वीक क्राइटेरिया। नॉर्मली जो अखबारों में रेट आते हैं दैट इज टेकन टू बी करेक्ट ओपन मार्केट वैल्यू। अब आपकी रिलेटेड पार्टी में ट्रांजैक्शन नहीं और कैश के लिए भी नहीं, लेट्स टेक द पार्कर का एग्जांपल, 2000 पे आपका वो आप सेक्शन 15(1) से बाहर करेंगे, आप फेयर मार्केट वैल्यू लेंगे, अब वो सीधा पार्कर कंपनी को फोन करेंगे पेन कितने का आपका एमआरपी पे, वो कहते हैं 30,000 माइनस 6,000 डिस्काउंट 24,000 रुपये का, 24,001 हो गया। अब वो कहते हैं गुड्स ऑफ लाइक क्वालिटी एंड क्वांटिटी, ओपन मार्केट वैल्यू रूल 27 डिफाइंड एज लाइक क्वांटिटी एंड लाइक क्वालिटी। अगर आप 100 पेन खरीदोगे डिस्काउंट ज्यादा मिलेगा, एक खरीदोगे का बात ही नहीं करेगा आपसे। दैट इज व्हाई द लेजिस्लेचर वर वेरी फेयर टू द टैक्स पेयर्स कि लाइक एंड लाइक क्वांटिटी एंड काइंड, किस टाइम at in terms of section 12 टाइम ऑफ सप्लाई सिस्टम क्या वैल्यू थी उसकी, वो डिटरमिन करते हैं। अब आप हमें रेट देते हैं कि ये उस दिन के अखबार है हमारे पास, इसकी फेयर मार्केट वैल्यू। यहाँ the biggest evidence is you give them 20 more invoices who were issued to parties where section 15(1) was satisfied. Normally that is taken as correct. I've done 1 or 2 cases in Hyderabad where they were immediately dropped it. बल्कि हमने उनसे उनको कंफर्मेशन लेटर भी लाके दी, हमने ये हमारी प्रोडक्ट बेचे हैं, हमारी किताबों में क्वालिटी, राइट। बट इफ यू हैड अंडर प्राइस्ड इट, यू कैन नॉट प्रूव कि योर प्राइसिंग टू रिलेटेड पार्टीज और ट्रांजैक्शन अदर देन for only cash, then you have problems. So now when you are charged after notice, the buyer cannot get input tax credit because section 16 bars it. You are called upon to pay tax after notice, input tax credit is denied. So यहाँ वो serious problem हो सकती है, and interest penalty is automatic. Whenever you are confronted with such a situation, and if as a lawyer, as a chartered accountant, or as a STP, you are clear there is a violation, immediately I will reverse action. लिटिगेशन में कुछ मिलने वाला नहीं है। फॉर एग्जाम्पल जितने लोगों ने ये अथॉरिटी का केस करने हैं कि हमने प्रॉफिट नहीं कमाया एंड प्रोफेयरिंग, मोस्ट ऑफ द कंपनीज हैव मिजरेबली लॉस्ट फॉर केस एंड इवन सुप्रीम कोर्ट इन 2 केसेस डिड नॉट रिफ्यूज टू एडमिट एज इट्स अ क्वेश्चन ऑफ फैक्ट वी डोंट वांट। तो जहाँ कोई ऐसी गलती हुई है, दिल्ली में ऐसे केसेस अभी नहीं है, बाहर हैं, So Delhi is not a manufacturing zone, so these cases don't come happen there. वहाँ हैं बहुत सारे ऐसे cases. So the way you find is open market value, that's a big issue. Whatever may be the amount, talk to your client कि buddy, this is our advice. You want us to litigate, we'll litigate. That's it. वैसे तो हम केस करेंगे. But like Mr. Bhatia said, if there is no case, no need to get the client into litigation. You will lose in the wrong run. हारे को चार को बोलेगा यार वर्मा ने जबरदस्ती फंसा दिया लिटिगेशन में, वो चार अपने एसेट में जाके चार बंदों को और बोले, so you will lose much more money than what you paid in one case, right? This open market value, and there is a cost plus. अगर ये तीनों चीजें नहीं होती, then the officer has a right to decide value according to his best judgment. Valuation में best judgment पहले किसी और law में नहीं थी, इसमें है. So what is the law trying to say? कि you are a supplier, you prove your value was fair. Since you fail to prove on the first three principles, so now officer says no, I don't agree with it. तो बाजार में सीमेंट 205 रुपए का दूंगा, तुमने 160 रुपए का बेचा, कहाँ से लेके आए थे आप सीमेंट? आपने सारे बिल भी दिखा दिए उसको, बाकी के भी, कहते नो, I don't accept it. So wherever there is a central government price control order applicable, वहाँ तो ये dispute हो नहीं सकता. But other cases, yes, like quality and quantity, right? You might say कि ये डॉक्टर राव ने जो टाई पहनी हुई है, ये तो अरमानी की है सर, 500 रुपए की है, वर्मा जी बोले 100 रुपए की है. Quality is different, but that you have to establish, not the officer. It's a big case. It's a real big case on facts. आपको फैक्ट में प्रूव करना है कि मेरी प्राइसिंग ठीक है. आने वाले हैं, बॉक्स कॉन्ट्रैक्ट में ऑलरेडी आने शुरू हो गए.
Sir, even in case of goods retention, when the chemicals are supplied and at times or the documents are not there, the officers go for the lab testing and put it on a very, very high value, stating that this is XYZ because he has the power.
This is domestic goods. Imported goods, the problem is very serious. Other than going to first example, bill of entry हमने 100 रुपए में फाइल किया, so bill of entry is nothing but a self-assessment.
Correct.
It's a self-assessment order. Once the superintendent has signed, the goods are released, becomes an order. बाद में उसका ऑडिट होता है, कहते हैं 400 रुपए है, अब क्या करोगे आप? वो 300 रुपए पे IGST लेंगे आपसे बैकडेट में, with interest 18% and a penalty, and for you ITC 0.
That is no track.
It's not draconian, this is law. It's a concession. You want it, fulfill the law. हमने भी रिट डाली इस केस के ऊपर, we lost सबसे बड़ा प्रॉपर्टी, रिट डाली हमने. I got issued notice, no stay. वो कहने वाले हैं go to tribunal, we are not going to hear it. और बहुत बड़ा अमाउंट है. कंसाइनमेंट को डिटेन कर दिया, डिटेंशन चार्जेस, गुड रिलीज कर दिए, इम्पोर्टर ने रिलीज नहीं कराया, झगड़ा हो गया इनका आपस में, वो 2 साल का डैमेज लग गया, डिटेंशन चार्ज भी लग गया, अब उस पर IGST दो. और वो जितने के गुड्स थे हिसाब बना लिया. Yes. So you can go through this rule 27. This is the only gist of rule 27. Rule 27, 28, you can go through, and we have discussed whatever I have in my notes. Then there is rule 32, rule 30A. We are not going to discuss this, it's very normal. It lays down the valuation for 7 specific services, including foreign currency transaction, वगैरह वगैरह. There are formula given, you have to do. Foreign currency में आपको ध्यान रखना है, if once you convert INR into a foreign currency or a foreign currency into a foreign currency, दोनों के rule अलग है. But both of them are almost 1% of the your profit margin is GST value. Both of them, but the conditions are different. बाकी बैंकिंग के लिए कुछ है वो आप खुद पढ़ लो, उसमें कोई ऐसा कानून की बात नहीं है. Second hand goods. The दिल्ली बहुत बड़ी मार्केट है सेकंड हैंड. If a person registered, taxable or required to be registered deals in second hand goods, उसके valuation अलग है. If he buys goods from an unregistered person, the criteria is very safe. But if he is buying from a registered person and adds value to goods, then his landed cost or the landed cost to him for second hand goods is the value of which he pays to the seller plus the rehabilitation expense or commodity spends on this. For example, a second hand car. I buy as a car dealer, I buy a second hand car from Rahul for 2 lakh rupees. Within my own workshop, rightly or wrongly, हेरा फेरी से 50,000 का मैं और ऐड करता हूँ. मैंने पेंट कराया, सर्विस कराई, टायर बदले, पेंट किया, वो किया. The cost is 2,50,000 rupees. I sell it for 2,80,000. I pay 30,000 rupees tax. Provided I am dealing with second hand goods. The goods must retain their own identity. For example, if you buy gold, you melt it, the goods lose their identity. Now when you remake it, there is no second hand goods here. So second hand goods is which you buy in the same shape, sell in the same shape, maybe after some kind of repair, or the goods can be refurbished, but the goods must retain their original character. Then this rule, particular rule is applicable. Other rule is pure services. कल परसों किसी ने क्वेश्चन रेज किया था यहाँ पर. For example, a chartered accountant. It's a very common example. We all give people who speak on this subject. कहते हैं कंपनी बना दो. करते हो ना आप लोग? तो कंपनी से 50,000 रुपये बनाने के लेंगे. अब उसके और आपने उसकी आरओसी की फीस दी, फलाने दिए, ये दिया, वो 10,000 रुपये और लिया. Right? Now the law presumes that this 10,000 rupees which you incurred on behalf of a client, you incurred this expense as a pure agent. Therefore, GST will be on 50,000, not on 60,000. If you extend this to other things, wherever these services are involved. For example, I'm a lawyer. This is please come to Bombay, book your tickets, we will reimburse you. In my case, it's a dicey. I'm not paying to any statutory government. Therefore, you must exchange mails. You must have a documentary evidence available to you that this was the contract between my client and me. Therefore, tell him a client said, please buy ticket, we will reimburse you. Supposing you don't have it, this kind of any arrangement, then what happens? It's you and the assessing officer. So wherever you want to claim any deduction from transaction value in terms of section 15(1), onus lies upon you to prove you are entitled to this deduction. And this pure agent business, like in service tax, in GST also the new litigation is coming. All big lawyers are facing inquiries. ये जो आपने 5-5 लाख बोतलों पे खर्चे हैं, बाहर गए हैं, ये क्या थे बताइए ना. तो ये जो क्लाइंट ने दिए थे, एक केस में इंक्वायरी की गई. जीएसटी अफसर ने उस क्लाइंट को समन देकर बुलाया. वो कहते हैं कि हमारा तो आने लूजीव है. और जैसे मोनू साहब ने बोला मेरी किताबों को दीमक खा गई, कंप्यूटर दीमक खा गई, बिल दीमक खा गई. तो ये कहता है आने लूजीव है, हमने तो कोई टिकट के पैसे नहीं दिए. What were you trying to do? You were trying to camouflage a transaction by dividing 10 lakh rupees, 5 lakh as a fee, 5 lakh as expenses, whereas the price was 10 lakh rupees fixed. So wherever you want to, as a GST lawyer, if you know this, you tell the client, "Hey buddy, this is where I want this fees. At 10 lakh rupees, but you reimburse me for ticket and rotor separately. I'll give you bills in your name. मेरे पैसे मैं को दे दूँगा." But if you don't do and you don't pay forward charge, if you are a company, for example, your case, 10 lakh rupees, आपको 10 लाख का टैक्स लगेगा, आप झगड़े करोगे. So pure agent में written contract is a must. Law does not require any written contract in entire GST law. It only says agreement or contract. Nothing is used for contract. But whenever you are claiming a deduction from tax, and corroborative evidence on record and say, yes, this is what we have done. Always remember, document don't tell lie. और कंफर्मेशन लेटर पहले लेकर रखो लोगों से आप एडवांस में कि भैया गेट सेंडिंग यू दिस मनी टुवर्ड्स आवर इमीडिएट सो एंड सो एज रिइंबर्समेंट ऑफ योर टिकट और होटल पे ठीक है मेरे पास somebody will question it and they have 5 years from this huge time available. So this was one more which I thought I'll tell you. Okay. Now we come to imports. import in this country is going to pose a lot of problems in times to come. Things are opening up now. They are sharing the data. They have advanced programs. In fact, if you read the Economic Times recently, quote by the front page, all corporate importers are subject to red flags for imports. So imports have gone up by 75% in last 1 year. That is why your GST collection is going up. There is no other reason. Nothing is happening in the economy as much. But Uttar Pradesh जो import बढ़ा उसका टैक्स आया, उसके बिना गुड्स नहीं आ सकते, टैक्स अपना So what is import? When goods are brought into India, that is import. That is issue. Buy and sell goods outside and get something manufactured outside the country without goods entering into. This is neither import nor export. It's a transaction in a non-taxable territory. आपकी बैलेंस शीट में आएगी पर जीएसटी रिटर्न से कोई लेना देना नहीं. Once you import the goods, there are various schemes for imports. GST has no connection with those schemes. GST does not give you any exemption based on any scheme whatsoever. You are buying it for export orders or shipments or seats or whatever, any electronic presence on it, that makes no difference. Imports में जब goods आते हो, those goods should be used in the course or furtherance of your business. Input तभी मिलेगा आपको. If Anil Ambani imports a car for 10 crore rupees, आज ये तो देना है, input नहीं मिलना उसका. So whenever your client shows in trial balance his imported goods for 10 crore and he is claimed ITC, it is your duty what his imports are. Whether they have any connection with his business. When we say in the course of business, they have direct link. आपकी business है उसके बिना आपका business नहीं हो सकता. Or in furtherance of business, sales promotion, marketing, ads, etc. Because those can involve services which you can import. Right? So when you import and you want to claim ITC, first condition as a professional we have to see is whether this input as credit can be claimed in our business. If yes, then go further. Now supposing you imported goods only for a re-export order under a government scheme, then those goods under customs tax cannot be used for any other purpose. This is a huge law. That is why they have involved customs in imports. For example, Chapter 8501 Customs Act. If you import the entire project, full project, custom duty is 5%, notwithstanding what the individual custom duty rate for individual component of your imports. And then those goods can be used only for this project. If you don't use, the normal tax becomes applicable with interest and penalty. So if you are importing under a restrained conditions, where there are circulars or notification putting duties upon you to under what category you can import, then it is our duty to ensure, tell the client that these goods were imported for this purpose. For example, you import lithium batteries. The same thing today in the world. बाकी batteries अब खत्म हो गए, lead based batteries are over. In fact, few countries are not even allowed. There is a notification in the government, if these batteries are sold to OEM, GST is 5%. Now, if it's sold at 5%, then it is your duty as professional, tax professional, to do a sample checking whether your client sold these batteries to OEMs, original equipment manufacturers. Assembling is also an OEM activity, it has been held. Right? If it is not, then it's again duty के sir, what is this? क्या है देखिए, तो 2.5% है, वो कैसे हो गया 2.5%? आपने OEM को बेचा था, आपने किसी OEM को तो बेचेंगे। Now supposing client comes into bank, नहीं हमने जो डीलर को बेचा है ना वो इनको सप्लाई करते हैं. No, the notification doesn't say that. So whenever we read a notification, it is to be construed strictly. Full stop, comma must be satisfied. By the revenue, we discussed the Polestar case. Why did Supreme Court reject the revenue claim? It's nowhere mentioned this. It can be logic, yes, but did you mention it? In what to handy kaha? Therefore, whenever you deal with imports where concessional rates have been claimed for custom duty and consequently for GST also, अगर custom duty 28% थी, और इम्पोर्ट की कस्टम ड्यूटी द पार्ट ऑफ जीएसटी, तो आपने क्या 5% तो 23% में जीएसटी नहीं दिया। तो ये जहाँ कुछ आप इफ यू कन्फ्रंट ए क्लाइंट लाइक दिस, प्लीज स्पेंड हाफ एन आवर टेलिंग शो डॉक्यूमेंट्स कि ये ठीक है ये गलत है, स्पेशली व्हेन यू आर सर्टिफाइंग हिज बैलेंस शीट। See why chartered accountants are getting out of this profession? Because the government has reports, and I am a pre some kind of information where majority of the form 9 of importers are wrong. कल मैंने WhatsApp पे सर्कुलेट किया था 400 chartered accountants have been involved in forming shell companies. ये 2200 थे वर्ल्ड ओवर इंडिया, 400 के लिए उन्होंने एक्शन रिकमेंड कर दिया, रिमूव कर। इतनी अब उन्होंने कोई चोरी नहीं की है, उनको पता नहीं था इन चीजों का। वो कहने चाइनीज क्लाइंट शेल कंपनी 2 लाख, आजा 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 फटाफट आजा। नो, as a professional, this is also like Mr. Bhatia advised us the other day, it's also our moral responsibility to tell the client to be on right side of the law. Sometimes you lose a client, it's okay. I lose many clients. कहते वर्मा जी आपको हम बचाने वाले हो मारने वाले, मैं तो बचा सकता ही नहीं मित्रों को, मैं तो बचा नहीं सकता, नहीं कर सकता। So whenever you dealing with importers, please spend time. Charge the client. You spend 5 minutes, charge the client. Our time is not free. Our time is very valuable. But do your job. Although tomorrow if your form 9 are find wrong in a big way, action will follow. Law में provision है. You are supposed to sign that form 9, no? साइन करते हैं ना आप लोग सीए लोग? नहीं आप नहीं करते, मैं पहले करते जब करते थे। आज आपका बिल लौट दिए, पैसे मिलने बंद हो गए?
नहीं सरकार ने बंद कर दिया।
अच्छा okay, so when you import goods, so it is taxable under section 3 read with 12 read with 14 Customs Act 1962 read with Custom Tariff Act 1975। की वैल्यू में सेक्शन 14 में डिस्कस किया हमने tariff value and assessable value. Assessable value is also called transaction value. Transaction value is not now set in terms of section 15(1). In terms of valuation law made in section 14. Section 14 में क्या आपके गुड्स की कस्टम होगा? Basic custom duty is a part of transaction value for imports. Plus any other tax levied. We went through section 5 and section 20 I read only for this reason. और कोई भी टैक्स लगता है इंपोर्ट्स के ऊपर, वो सारा टैक्स लगा के फिर आईजीएसटी देना। मैं बड़े लोगों को सुनता हूँ, क्या मिस्टर वर्मा बात करते हैं, हमने बिल ऑफ एंट्री फाइल किया, उसने एक्सेप्ट कर लिया, अब हमारी क्या प्रॉब्लम है इसमें? नो, इट्स योर प्रॉब्लम, बट इज योर नेग्लिजेंस। The law gives you a facility of self-assessment. It is your responsibility to create a good self-assessment. Like yesterday when we were discussing definition of, I posed a question to you. Does it mean the correct tax payable? My answer is yes. Because once you are dealing with a self-assessment case, all utmost care you must take to make claims which are legitimate. You cannot have a purchase given to Mr. Verma a return, but you turnover likh do. No. By filing a return is the basis of your litigation. अगर अभी रिटर्न गलत है तो आपका सब कुछ गलत है। So when you file a bill of entry or when you file a return, which is a self-assessment order, it is supposed to be, in law, in my view, it's supposed to be a bona fide return. It cannot be a mala fide return, whether law writes it or not. Am I right, sir? Absolutely.
बिल्कुल, और जेके सिंथेटिक के बावजूद हाईकोर्ट ने कंफर्म किया हुआ है।
So whenever you are dealing with a self-assessment, whether it's customs, excise or GST, your self-assessment should be based on logic. Based on existing law. और किसी भी रिटर्न के साथ जब इंपोर्ट करते हैं, आपकी सारी वर्किंग आपके रिटर्न के साथ होनी चाहिए। आपने क्लाइंट छोड़ दिया, वो आपका सीएफओ भाग गया, छोड़ गया, कल को कंपनी क्या करेगी? It is our duty when you leave the client, give him a file, सर हमने 10 रिटर्न भरी हैं आपकी, इसकी सारी बैकअप है। Should you need anything else from a return, we will certify it. But if you don't charge money, वो साल के 10,000 रुपये देते हैं और आप उसके पैसे आ रहे हैं, आप उसको देखते नहीं, then you are doing a disservice to your own profession. It's my advice to you. Return filing in tax law is the primary thing. It's much bigger than High Court writ. Litigation starts with the list will start with return.
And if your returns are good in GST, you will never face any issues.
If your facts are correct, nobody troubles you. Bible में लिखा है you can be wrong in opinion, you can never be wrong on facts. अगर facts आपके गलत है, nobody can save you. Jurisdiction में बजा सकते हैं, टाइम झगड़े वगड़े करके हो सकता है. But self assessment means this. So import में वो सारी चीजें आपको आपके वैल्यू में लगानी है, other than GST, जो उस import पे लगता है. For example, there is an anti-dumping duty, or there is a safeguard duty levied by central government. Say, for example, steel. There can be anti-dumping duty on various products. But if you are importing steel, then we are referring anti-dumping duty only on steel. If there is an anti-dumping duty leviable on steel, then that becomes a part of your transaction value for imports and you have to pay GST on that also. If there is a safeguard duty, अभी सीधी रस्सी में लगाई थी इन्होंने पीछे, then you have to include this transaction value and pay tax. If there is any other duty payable on goods which you have imported, not generally, but supposing a general cess 1%, आपको वो भी ऐड करना है. अगर आपकी कोई फ्रेट की जिम्मेदारी है, कोई वसीयत के पैसे आपने देने हैं, जो आपने देने हैं, तो आपको वो टैक्स देना है. Or only after this, when you bring the goods here, including the in-transit freight, it becomes your cost of acquisition of imports. If you sell them with profit, that becomes your value of supply. What you are importing is not value of supply, it's your cost of supply. Only when you sell it, when you trade it, add profit margin to it, then cost becomes value. Right? Now let's talk of high C sales. Let's go back to 5.2 IGST. So you are 5 to 7.2. Supply of goods imported into the territory of India, comma. So what's the first condition? The goods should have been imported into India. Till they cross the custom frontiers of India, shall be treated to be a supply of goods in the ports of interstate trade and commerce. Two things happen here. There is an amendment in law. Now goods can be stored in a warehouse, even in a private warehouse. As long as goods are stored in notified godowns or warehouses under Section 7 Customs Act, the goods remain on high seas till they cross custom frontiers. Now let's take the one example. Rahul imports goods worth $1 million and keeps it in warehouse. He makes a transaction with Mr. Verma, $1,010,000. It's an interstate sale. If the same transaction he converts it to high sea sale agreement, then there is no tax between him and me. If he makes a high sea sale to me, then he is not bothered about tax, because now I become the owner of the goods after the bill of lading is transferred in my name. That is the sign and qua of high sea sale transaction. This is the only document required in law. But there are few high court judgments which go further, whether goods were ever cleared by the receiver. So it is Mr. Verma now who has to file the bill of entry. I become the importer in the records of customs. Transferred, original bill of lading has been transferred. Endorsement word doesn't exist in any law. The word is transfer. Central sale tax में endorsement word कहीं नहीं था. Endorsement is a very specific word. Transfer is much bigger. तभी उन्होंने even sale में Supreme Court ने बोला था, even on an email, documents can be transferred. Sale by transfer of document, not by endorsement. Endorsement is specific to the document. Transfer is much bigger word. So if you are transferring a bill of lading in the name of Mr. Verma, he is transferring before the goods are assessed for custom duty. That is, before the goods cross custom frontiers. It's still on high sea sales. There is no tax. There are surplus now on this issue, and you don't bother about surplus. Only when Mr. Verma files bill of entry, there is a problem. If I file immediately, transaction value is clear. But if I file after 2 months, 3 months, for whatever reason, then on the time of supply is when I clear the goods. The duty rate at that time, जिन लोगों ने स्टील क्लियर नहीं किया 6 महीने पहले अब किया, मर गए. Duty hacked up or reduced, whatever. Right? So bill of entry is filed by the person who has in his possession original bill of lading. any copy, certification, affidavit, bill of lading is not acceptable. They are entered in the computer. So importation is complete when I file the bill of entry and then I pay the duty. Now what happens to the expenses which Mr. Rahul must have spent? Since he made an exempt supply, he is not entitled to any input tax credit on whatever expenses has been paid. It's zero. Therefore, as lawyers, we should suggest the ICC buyer, sir, all expenses your account, we will not spend anything because you will get ITC. I will not. It may be majority of the chartered accountants, since they did not know this, sorry to say that, they did not reverse ITC. And the company are facing huge audits. और बहुत सारे पैसे. Ruchi Oil is one company in my clan in Chennai where they are facing a liability of more than 2 crores on this GST reversal on these expenses. इतना इम्पोर्ट करते हैं पाम ऑयल मलेशिया से वो, तो ये किसी ने देखा नहीं. So always remember, whenever you're dealing with GST, input tax credit available to you only for taxable supply or zero rate, और किसी चीज पे नहीं मिलता. सेक्शन 17 की मास्टरी करो ना करो, बस ये फंडामेंटल डिफॉल्ट रूल हमारे दिमाग में होना चाहिए. IC sale, since it's not taxable, it's exempt supply. We can't say this is non taxable. Non taxable is only section 9 sales. This is exempt supply, therefore ITC is not available to you. तो अगर इन्होंने कोई खर्चे किए हैं, कोई GST बिल है, don't jump and tax इनवॉइस है, कर लो इनपुट टैक्स क्रेडिट क्लेम. मोस्टली हम लोग ये करते हैं, टैक्स इनवॉइस है, कर लो क्लेम है, कितने देखना बात.
किस तरीके का खर्चा आप कह रहे होगा?
CHO के पैसे दिए, CHO के पैसे दिए, consignment handling है.
Meaning till the time it's kept in the warehouse, till that
जो भी आपने खर्चा किया वो आपका है.
That will become your cost.
that is a cost only.
It's almost 2.5 to 3% of the import value. बहुत महंगे हैं. सपोजिंग 3 महीने आपने नहीं की, एवरेज कितने देना आपने देना है. सपोजिंग आपने एक बिल को हाई की सेल में उसको 10 में कन्वर्ट कर दिया, ये बहुत लंबी चैन बन जाती है. वो एक अलग इश्यू है कि हाई सी पहले तो जो प्रूव इसे हाई सी सेल, सिंपली बिकॉज यू आर ट्रांसफर्ड ए बिल ऑफ लेडिंग डजंट बिकम ए हाई सी सेल. सेल किसी सीफर ने बोला जी कौन सा ऑयल आपने ट्रांसफर किया था, इनको बताओ ना. आपको पूरा कंटेनर है 10,000 टन, उसके बाद हमने उनको केबिन पे मंगाया, उनके अलग अलग बिल ऑफ लेडिंग मंगाया. तो हाई सी सेल सिंपली नॉट एनफ कि आपने का बिल ऑफ लेडिंग हो गया. नो, यू हैव टू स्टिल सिट डाउन एंड से कि व्हाट इज दिस सेल. पैकिंग लिस्ट इज द मेन क्राइटेरिया ऑफ हाई सी सेल्स. जो पैकिंग आपके पास आई है वही पैकिंग आपको एज इट इज लिखना है हाई सी सेल में. 10 आइटम है, 10 आइटम आपको लिखनी है, उसकी क्वांटिटी लिखनी है, और जो आपने पैकेट्स बनाने हैं या जो भी करना है आपने वही लिखना है जो वहां लिखा गया है. और आपके इनवॉइस पे बिल ऑफ लेडिंग का नंबर क्लियर लिखा होना चाहिए. उससे पहले जो भी आपने खर्चे किए हैं, इफ यू बुक अकाउंटिंग बिल ऑफ लेडिंग वाइज विल हैव नो प्रॉब्लम. यू डू ए जनरल अकाउंटिंग, देन अप्रोप्रिएशन इन टर्म्स ऑफ कॉस्ट इज बिकम वेरी डिफिकल्ट. जो बिल ऑफ लेडिंग आपने आईसीसी में भेज दिया उनके खर्चे बाहर निकाल देना, तो जीएसटी में नहीं लेना उसको. तो दिस इज द पर्पस ऑफ हाई सी सेल. अब हाई सी सेल में input tax credit is governed by section 16. There is no provision for input tax credit under IGST Act. By operation of section 20 of Central Sales Tax Act, the provisions of local act also become applicable by IGST. Supposing the buyer doesn't pay you, राहुल ने मुझे बेचा, आई एम ए हाई सी बायर, मैंने इनको पेमेंट नहीं दी 180 दिन में, आई हैव टू रिवर्स टैक्स. That is, section 16 does not distinguish between domestic goods or services or imported goods or services. The payment criteria still remains. That is why in Rule 89 there is a provision कि अगर 180 दिन में सर्विस टैक्स में पेमेंट नहीं देते हो, आप इस से एक्सटेंशन ले सकते हो. Only in specific cases, import of services, but not on goods. So जो ITC के provision है वो भी आपको ध्यान. Supposing you are a IC buyer, not seller, you are dealing with a client who has purchased goods on IC sale basis. ये मत हो आईटी तो एग्जाम्पल हो, आपने इनपुट टैक्स क्रेडिट क्लेम किया आईटीसी लेने का, आप उस पे आईजीएसटी की पेमेंट तो आपने उनको की, आपको बाहर को पेमेंट करनी थी. इसलिए एक डिबेट चलती है. हालांकि माय व्यू इज सिंस टैक्स इज पेड टू द गवर्नमेंट, व्हाई शुड देयर बी डिबेट. बट पीपल आर डूइंग विद द मैक्रो एनालिसिस. यदि वहां जो डी लिखा आईजीएसटी में कोई डिस्टिंग्विश तो नहीं किया, पेमेंट दे दिया. Because in normal transaction also seller pays tax. Still you are debarred from claiming IGST. Simply because you have paid IGST to government doesn't mean that you are away from section 16(3).
This issue is popping out majorly in GST audits now. This issue is popping out.
GSCA ने form 9 नहीं देखा है. I will have to sue them. In one of the cases, I am in the process of sending legal notice. But nothing was seen. क्लाइंट तो बोले कि मेरी बैलेंस शीट पे आंखें बंद के साइन करना, उसको तो ऐसे साइन कराना, ठप्पा लगवाना है.